It's 13,000 years old, it's not ours, and it's been orbiting our planet, waiting. Welcome to the Purple Files. If you enjoy our videos, please consider subscribing to the channel. Let's get right into it. But we begin with the central, most profound, and most terrifying theory of them all. This is the grand narrative that all other pieces of evidence are built upon. The theory states that there is an object in a near-polar orbit around Earth that is not of human origin. It is an artificial satellite, but one that predates all of human space exploration not by decades, but by millennia. According to the legend, this object, known as the Black Knight, is an alien artifact that is approximately 13,000 years old. It has been silently circling our planet since the end of the last ice age, a lonely, silent sentinel watching the dawn of human civilization. Our wars, our triumphs, and our first clumsy steps into space. This theory posits that the Black Knight is a single, ancient object, and that all the strange and unrelated phenomena reported over the last century are actually humanity's sporadic encounters with it. It is the grand unified theory of this conspiracy. The strange radio signals detected by Nikola Tesla in 1899, the mysterious long-delay echoes heard by amateur radio operators in the 1920s, the ghost satellites detected by the United States Air Force before any nation had launch capability, the forbidden sighting by astronaut Gordon Cooper, and the iconic photographs taken during the 1998 STS-88 shuttle mission. They are not separate mysteries. They are all different chapters in the same story, the story of humanity slowly becoming aware of the ancient watcher in its own backyard. The purpose of this alleged 13,000-year-old satellite is the subject of intense speculation, ranging from the benign to the truly horrifying. One school of thought is that it is a passive probe, a galactic surveyor sent by a long-dead or long-gone alien civilization to simply observe. It watches for signs of intelligent life to emerge, recording our development without interference. Another, slightly more active theory is that it is a beacon, a cosmic lighthouse designed to signal our existence to the rest of the galaxy once we reach a certain technological threshold, perhaps by detecting our own radio waves. It could be an invitation to join a galactic community, but there is a darker interpretation. What if the Black Knight is not a welcome sign, but a warning? It could be a doomsday monitor, an ancient system left in orbit to watch for signs of our self-destruction, perhaps programmed to act if we ever engaged in full-scale nuclear war. Or, in an even more chilling twist, what if it is a warning system for an external threat, a silent alarm left behind by a previous civilization designed to alert us to a danger from deep space that we cannot yet comprehend? This core theory transforms the Black Knight from a simple piece of space debris into the most significant object in human history, an artifact that redefines our place in the cosmos and forces us to ask the terrifying question, who is watching us? And why? Every great mystery needs a beginning, a point of first contact. For the Black Knight satellite, that moment allegedly happened decades before the space race, before the word satellite was even part of our common language. The man who first heard its voice was none other than the brilliant and eccentric inventor Nikola Tesla. In 1899, at his experimental station in Colorado Springs, Tesla was conducting groundbreaking research into wireless power transmission. He had built a massive magnifying transmitter capable of sending millions of volts of electricity into the air. But in his quest to communicate across the globe, he may have accidentally listened in on a conversation from another world. While monitoring the electrical noise of thunderstorms, Tesla began to detect something else entirely. Using his highly sensitive receivers, he recorded a series of faint, rhythmic signals. They were not the chaotic crackle of lightning or the random hiss of cosmic background radiation. These signals were structured, ordered, and intelligent. He described them as threes, a repeating pattern of clicks that seemed deliberate and artificial. At the time, Tesla speculated that he might be listening to signals from Mars, believing Martians were trying to communicate with Earth. He was publicly mocked for his claims, but he remained convinced that he had intercepted a message from an extraterrestrial intelligence. According to Black Knight theorists, Tesla was right about the intelligence, but wrong about the location. He was not listening to signals from Mars, but from the ancient satellite orbiting right above his head. The theory posits that Tesla's powerful transmitter had inadvertently awakened the dormant probe, or that his sensitive receiver was simply the first piece of human technology capable of hearing its faint repeating broadcast. The rhythmic threes were not a complex message, but a simple mathematical signal designed to get our attention, the cosmic equivalent of a knock at the door. Skeptics argue that Tesla could have been picking up signals from any number of sources, including distant thunderstorms or even the experiments of other wireless pioneers like Guglielmo Marconi. But the Black Knight legend reframes this historical event in a much more profound context. It casts Nikola Tesla not just as a brilliant inventor, but as the very first human in history to make contact with an alien artifact. He was the first person to hear the whisper of the sentinel that had been waiting in the darkness for 13,000 years. And he spent the rest of his life trying to convince the world of what he had heard. After Nikola Tesla's alleged discovery, the trail of the Black Knight goes cold for several decades. But in the 1920s, a new and baffling phenomenon emerged that would add another crucial layer to the legend. Amateur and professional radio operators began to experience something called long delay echoes, or LDS. The phenomenon was simple but physically impossible to explain. A radio operator would transmit a signal from Earth, and sometimes, seconds or even minutes later, their own signal would be broadcast back to them. This was far too long a delay to be caused by a simple bounce off the ionosphere, which would only take a fraction of a second. The echoes were a complete mystery. They were sporadic, unpredictable, and seemed to defy the known laws of physics. The signals were returning as if they had traveled a vast distance, but they were coming from right here, within the Earth-Moon system. In 1960, a scientist named Ronald N. Bracewell proposed a fascinating and elegant solution to the LD's mystery, one that would become a cornerstone of the Black Knight theory. He theorized the existence of an autonomous, alien, messenger probe, designed to seek out and make contact with emerging technological civilizations. A Bracewell probe, as it came to be known, would travel between star systems and wait patiently. Once it detected the radio signals of a new civilization, it would not send a complex message of its own. Instead, it would simply capture the civilization's own signals and repeat them back on the same frequency, but with a significant time delay. This delayed echo would be so strange and unnatural that it would alert the new civilization to the probe's presence, confirming that they were not alone. It would be the first step in a slow, patient, interstellar conversation. This is where the theory connects directly to the Black Knight. Believers argue that the Black Knight is a Bracewell probe. The long delay echoes of the 1920s were the satellite's attempt to initiate contact. It heard our first primitive radio broadcasts, captured them, and then repeated them back to us, waiting for us to notice. We were like a baby speaking its first words, and the Black Knight was the parent in the room, patiently trying to get us to speak again. This theory elevates the Black Knight from a passive observer to an active messenger, an emissary from the stars, trying to make first contact in the only way it knew how. By the early 1950s, the Cold War was in full swing, and the skies were being watched more closely than ever before. The United States and the Soviets were locked in a tense standoff, and the concept of space exploration was moving from science fiction to imminent reality. It was in this atmosphere of high-tech paranoia that the Black Knight allegedly made its first appearance, not as a sound, but as a physical object, detected by the most advanced military hardware on Earth. And the reports, which were published in major newspapers, created a mystery that predates the official start of the space age. In 1954, several major newspapers, including the St. Louis Post-Dispatch and the San Francisco Examiner, published articles based on the statements of retired Marine Corps Major and UFO researcher Donald Keyhoe. Keyhoe claimed that sources inside the United States Air Force had told him that they had detected not one, but two artificial satellites orbiting the Earth. This news was a bombshell because in 1954, no country on Earth had the technology to launch a satellite. The first successful launch, the Soviet Sputnik 1, was still 3 years away. The objects were dubbed ghost satellites, belonging to no known nation. The story resurfaced with even more credibility in 1960, shortly after the United States had launched its own satellites. Time magazine and other outlets reported that the American military had detected yet another mystery object. This one was different. It was in a near-polar orbit, a highly unusual and difficult orbit to achieve at the time. It was also estimated to be several times larger than any known American or Soviet spacecraft. The Department of Defense admitted it was tracking an unknown object, which it designated as a piece of unidentified space debris, likely from a Discoverer satellite. But for conspiracy theorists, this explanation was a cover-up. The ghost satellites of the 1950s and the polar orbiting object of 1960 were all the same thing, the Black Knight. This was the moment the United States government became fully aware of the ancient sentinel. They knew something was up there that did not belong to them and did not belong to the Soviets. The official explanation of space debris was, according to the theory, the beginning of a decades-long top-secret program to study the Black Knight while keeping its existence hidden from the public. For any conspiracy theory to truly take hold, it needs a credible human witness. For the Black Knight legend, that witness is one of the most famous and respected pilots in American history, Gordon Cooper, one of the original Mercury 7 astronauts. Cooper was a decorated Air Force test pilot and a man known for his calm, professional demeanor. He was not prone to exaggeration or fantasy, which is why his alleged encounter with an unknown object during his final Mercury mission in 1963 has become one of the most powerful and enduring pieces of evidence in the Black Knight saga. On May 15, 1963, Cooper was piloting his Faith 7 capsule on the final and longest flight of the Mercury program, a mission that involved 22 solo orbits of the Earth. As he was passing over the Mochea tracking station in Australia on his final orbit, he allegedly reported seeing something incredible. He saw a glowing greenish object moving in an eastward direction, approaching his capsule. The object was solid, metallic, and clearly under intelligent control. Crucially, the story goes that the tracking station in Australia was also able to pick up the unidentified object on their radar, confirming it was a real physical craft. The event allegedly caused a panic within the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, or NAC. According to the legend, upon Cooper's return to Earth, a media blackout was immediately imposed. Reporters covering the debriefing were explicitly told that they were not allowed to ask any questions regarding the sighting. The official transcripts of the mission contain no mention of the event, and the alleged audio from the Mochea tracking station has never been released. For believers, this is the smoking gun. A decorated astronaut saw the Black Knight with his own eyes. The sighting was confirmed by radar, and the entire event was immediately classified and covered up at the highest levels. While NAC and mission transcripts deny the event ever happened, Gordon Cooper himself remained a vocal believer in UFOs for the rest of his life, even testifying before the United Nations that he believed extraterrestrial craft were real. He never specifically confirmed the Black Knight story, but his general openness to the topic has been taken as tacit confirmation by theorists. His alleged sighting transformed the Black Knight from a distant, abstract object into something tangible and real, a craft that had been personally witnessed by one of humanity's first space explorers. After decades of strange signals, ghost satellites, and forbidden sightings, the story of the Black Knight finally culminates in a single, iconic image. In 1998, during the STS-88 mission of the Space Shuttle Endeavour, NSCS astronauts took a series of high-resolution colour photographs of a strange black, angular object floating in orbit near the shuttle. These images have become the face of the conspiracy, the definitive proof for believers that the Black Knight is real. However, according to NAC and virtually all mainstream scientists, these photos do not show an alien satellite. They show a piece of garbage. This is the official, skeptical explanation. The STS-88 mission was a crucial one. Its primary goal was to attach the American-made Unity module to the Russian-made Zarya module, forming the core of what would become the International Space Station. To do this, astronauts Jerry Ross and James Newman had to perform a series of complex spacewalks. During one of these extravehicular activities, or EVVs, a piece of equipment was accidentally lost. It was a thermal blanket, specifically a trunnion pin cover designed to insulate a connection point on the space station. According to the official mission logs, the blanket came loose, drifted away from the astronauts, and floated off into orbit. The object in the famous photographs, skeptics argue, perfectly matches the description and appearance of this lost thermal blanket. It is black on one side and silver on the other, and as it tumbled through space, its irregular shape would have contorted into the strange angular form seen in the pictures. From this perspective, the entire Black Knight legend is built on a foundation of mistaken identity. The object is not a 13,000-year-old alien probe. It is a 5-foot-long piece of high-tech trash. This theory effectively debunks the most powerful visual evidence in the entire saga. It suggests that believers have projected their desires onto a random object, imbuing a mundane piece of space debris with cosmic significance. It is a simple, logical, and evidence-based explanation that accounts for the object's appearance, its location, and its timing. For skeptics, this is the end of the story. The Black Knight is not a mystery. It is a lost thermal blanket, and the famous photos are nothing more than the most expensive garbage pictures ever taken. We end our list with the most meta, and perhaps the most plausible, theory of them all. This theory proposes that the Black Knight satellite is not an alien probe, nor is it a piece of space junk. It is a story. It is a piece of modern folklore, a digital campfire tale that was born and raised on the internet. This theory suggests that there is no single historical Black Knight mystery. Instead, the legend is a modern creation, a creepypasta that was carefully constructed by anonymous internet users who wove together a series of completely unrelated events into a single, compelling, but ultimately fictional narrative. According to this theory, the process began in the late 1990s, right around the time the STS-88 photos were released. Someone on an early internet forum took the pictures of the lost thermal blanket and connected them to older, unrelated mysteries to create a new story. They cherry-picked historical oddities that seemed to fit the narrative. They took Nikola Tesla's 1899 radio experiments, which were likely just atmospheric noise. They added the 1920s long-delay echoes, a real but poorly understood radio phenomenon. They threw in the 1950s ghost satellite, newspaper clippings, which were likely based on Cold War paranoia and misidentified meteors. They then added the story of Gordon Cooper's alleged sighting, a tale that has been widely disputed and has no official record. Finally, they crowned this collection of disparate events with the dramatic but misleading photographs of the thermal blanket. By presenting these separate, explainable incidents as chapters in a single, ancient mystery, they created something far greater than the sum of its parts. They built the legend of the Black Knight, giving it a name, a backstory, and a 13,000-year-old history that had never existed before. This theory does not necessarily debunk each individual piece of evidence. Instead, it debunks the connections between them. It suggests that the Black Knight is a masterful example of modern myth-making, a testament to the internet's power to create and spread compelling stories. It is a conspiracy theory about a conspiracy theory. It forces us to ask one final, unsettling question. Are we investigating a genuine mystery about an object in space? Or are we simply admiring one of the most successful and enduring works of collaborative fiction ever written? And that is it. If you've enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to the Purple Files, click the like button, and drop a comment down below. More videos to come, and until then, thanks for watching.